Hey everybody, how we doing today? So welcome to Florida Keys Hurricane Preparedness 2022. Alright, so for those that don't know, I'm here in the Florida Keys. We're a chain of islands running from the southern tip of the Florida mainland out into the Gulf and Atlantic Oceans, about 100 miles, and we get hurricanes. So today's video we're going to be talking about the stuff that I'm getting ready just in case. Now, the hurricane season generally lasts from May to November, with the months of August, September, October, kind of the prime time, most risky months. Now, this also leads into the sponsor of today's video, the All About the Bait store, my tackle shop and apparel store. It is also affected by the hurricane season, and my strategy for that is I order in a ton of merchandise up through June, July, and then I shut it off until end of November. Then I start receiving again. So in that 3 to 4 months time frame, I just sell, and try to lower my stocks as much as possible, just in case a hurricane hits. So if you want to support the channel, buy something. All right, let's get started. Now, I've got this kind of organized in a somewhat priority order. Not exact, but pretty close. This is kind of built off of my experience going through Hurricane Irma. I was in Key West, so we weren't directly affected, but we dealt more of the inconvenience of not having power, not having water, not have communications, not being able to go anywhere, etc. But also dealing with people that did have their houses flooded, people that left and then were not able to come back in because they blocked the roads and weren't allowing people back into the Keys, and etc. Also, I've dealt with not having water, not having any food, not because you couldn't go out and buy it because you had money, but you just couldn't buy it because there was no water, there was no food, and having deal with that. Also dealing with medical conditions in areas, remote places where there is no medical supplies, there's no hospitals, no medics, no any that type of thing. So basically I've been in some pretty shitty places and dealt with a lot of stuff, and so I kind of build on those in regards to my prioritization of preparing for hurricanes down here. Alright, so let's get started. So at the top of my list, bam! Credit cards or cash. Don't let anybody lie to you that money doesn't solve everything, because in this case it does. So for my first suggestion, if a hurricane's coming, get out of its way. Right? Get in your car, get on a plane, and get out. Now, speaking of abandoning ship, preparedness for that involves doing an oil change. I can go another 12 to 15,000 miles, so I'm good to go there. Just changed oil about a month ago, as well as putting new paddles on my car, which are replacing the tires. Got brand new tires there. It's great running condition, so I know I could just hop in and head to New York if I have to. The good thing about this car, it's a great camping car. The seats fold down and you can lay out and carry a bunch of stuff. So it's a great vehicle to escape with, but it's all prepped and ready to go. So make sure your vehicle is ready to go and if you decide to abandon ship. Now, I do stress that it is important to have both credit card and cash. Especially if you're leaving, the credit card will come in and be a lot more convenient, especially if you're going to be dealing with reservations for flights or hotel rooms or renting a car or etc. On the flip side, if you're staying in the Keys, lose power, lose communications, that means credit cards are not going to work, so cash comes into play, because a lot of places, not a lot, but some places will open back up and you will be able to buy stuff, but not with a credit card. Cash becomes king. So both very important. Next up, water. Now, water is probably at the top of the list in regards to survivability. No water, no livy, basically. In regards to Hurricane Irma, we didn't get affected in the lower Keys in that regards, but we lost our ability to get water. Not only was the water line structurally damaged, the main lines that bring the water down the Keys, but we also had issues with pressure being lost because of all the individual houses and their water lines being damaged. So they were just basically turn the faucet on and just let it run continuously, all these houses in the Middle Keys, and they weren't able to be shut off because the people weren't around, and that killed the water pressure, and that meant we didn't get water for a week to 10 days. Eventually they got it patched up enough where we would get water for an hour a day in the evenings until they got it actually fully up and running. It wasn't horrible in regards because they were able to bring in emergency supplies of water, so that disaster relief came in fairly quickly, so it wasn't that big of an issue, but you always have to take that on a sliding scale. If Miami, Southern Florida got wiped out, as well as our water lines, that means people probably weren't going to be coming down to us as fast, and we need to rely on our own water resources. So let's take a look at some of what I have. All right, talking water, you basically have potable, which is going to be like your drinking water, and then non-potable, which you can use for cleaning and that kind of stuff, taking baths, showers, whatever. In that regards, drinking water, I've got 5 of these 5-gallon containers there. Basically just fill them up with tap water before a hurricane comes, and then I've got good clean drinking water. I also have a head unit that these sit on, so I could just basically dispense as needed. For non-potable, just cleaning stuff, I've got this 55-gallon drum that I found in the mangrove backcountry. Just cleaned it out so it's ready to go. This one will actually go inside the house next to the kitchen sink. So if a hurricane's coming, I'll just fill it up inside the kitchen, use it as needed just as my primary. And then when it's empty, then I'll move it outside, and then I'm going to have a kind of a rain capture set up. It'll just go into the corner there. This corner of the house is where all the water from the house kind of floods down to this corner. So I'll have just a drainage off the roof, down a spout, and then I'll have the drum on the inside here so it's away from the mosquitoes, and then I'll be able to pull water from that. Same thing with this one here. I think it's like 25-30 gallons. I also have all these just normal plastic containers that I just fill up with tap water before a hurricane comes, and just have them staged and ready to use. And then I'll use that water catchment for replenishment as needed. And then just for drinking water, you can use them as drinking water as well. Just bleach them up, or iodine tabs or whatever, and just suck it up and drink it. And for those people that are all, oh, dirty water, trust me, after a couple of days in the heat and humidity, you'll be drinking out of the Steve water fountain after the 3rd day. So don't be all finicky when it comes to water. When you need to drink it, you're going to drink whatever. So get over it. Next up on the priority list, medications. Now, this is extremely important if you have some sort of health issues that requires medication. I'm fortunate that I don't do any type of drugs at all, but I've been in situations in the Badlands of Ethiopia, malaria, and they found me out in the middle of the courtyard, wrapped in a blanket, staring up, and I remember that I came out at nighttime and I started looking up at the stars, and I couldn't stop staring at them, and I got stuck like that. And that's all I remember. And for like 2 or 3 days, I was kind of out of it like that. But same situation, when you're in these places where you don't have access to medical care and you need medical care, you're going to be in a pretty big problem. So definitely, if you have medical needs and you have certain prescription drugs that you need, you better have a stash for as long as you think that you might be stuck down here. So that could be quite a while. But if you do have medical issues, I'd say straight up, get that credit card out and head on out of here. It's just not worth it. In regards to drugs, the things I carry, ibuprofen, acetaminophen. I'll carry those packs of cough and cold medicine. And then beyond that, hydrogen peroxide, I've got bleach, alcohol, that kind of stuff for cuts and wounds and so forth. So just the basics, but you better at least have those basics just in case something happens, because if you are mentally or physically disabled, good night, all right? It makes things a lot more difficult. Next up, food. Now for me, it's not such a huge priority there. You can go without food for quite a while. Initially, you have those initial cravings that are kind of tough, but after that, it actually just kind of goes away and you don't really desire food after a while. Yeah, you're going to need it for substance down the road, but it kind of quickly tapers off and you can survive without it for quite a while. My supply is fairly easy. I do this every year. Hurricane season comes, I buy 24 cans of tuna and 24 cans of chili. And I could survive off of 1 can of either one per day indefinitely without a problem. You also have to remember I'm a fisherman hunter, and we live on an island surrounded by the ocean, which is basically full of food, so it's not such a big deal. However, it is good to have something quick and easy and doesn't require calories in order to gain calories. So having this kind of stuff, pop open a can, they don't require can openers, pop tops, boom, you eat it and you're good to go. Outside of that, you can kind of supply it with whatever you want. I've lived off of tubes of toothpaste and eating fruit skins out of the garbage, and I was fine, so you could do it too. A couple of things though I would say in regards to the hurricane prep things. Let me show you in regards to your refrigerator and freezer. Alright, so here's my strategy for refrigerated frozen food storage. I've got my stand-up refrigerator freezer. I also have my bait freezer here. Basically, kind of what I did for Irma is, when I knew the hurricane was definitely coming, I had to do something. I took all my bait and chum and I just took it out to the ocean and donated it to the fish out there. Then what I did for that freezer in particular is I defrosted it and then cleaned it, bleached it, so it was unplugged for a day or two and it didn't stink. It was just perfect, back to a clean condition. Then I just stuffed it full of water bottles, turned it back on, and froze everything. Then I actually used that for the first week or two for a few frozen items that I could still eat, and then I would use it kind of like refrigerator because I had all those frozen water bottles, and then when those defrosted, then I had a cool drink, and it was actually worked out really nice. But the key thing was to make it so clean that when it defrosted and you would still be able to use it. Some people, when they left, they didn't clean out their freezer, so when they came back, they had just a stinking, horrible mess where they either just threw the whole thing away or they just had to deal with that mess. As well as the people that stayed, they didn't clean it out. Then the power shut off and then that stuff defrosted, and you know how much bait would stink after it defrosts, and it's in their living quarters and it just stunk them out, so they had to take it outside. You can't clean it because you don't have water, so it's just a mess. So very important strategy, clean that up, and then you could fire it back up again without the bait and just kind of keep it clean. I'll probably just eliminate that after the frozen water bottles are done and not run on that. And then on my freezer on the inside here, what I'm doing now for preparedness is actually eating through all my frozen back stock of meat that I got through the COVID times. And then just going to eat through this and just have the bare minimum of the meat that I'll keep here. Get rid of I got through all my frozen pizzas. Now I just got some burritos left, and then that'll be done. But keep that to a minimum. I do have backup power supplies this year, which is different. But the main thing is to clean these out. This is the same thing. I'll go through, turn off the power, clean it all out, and then make sure it doesn't stink while I'm getting ready. And then at that point, I know I could turn it back on, stuff it full of frozen stuff, whatever I want to use. And then if I do lose power, I know that I'm not going to have that issue with the stink problems. But that is kind of the deal with the frozen and refrigerated goods. While we're still on the topic of food, remember you want to have some source of cooking your food. For me, I utilize my barbecue, which is a gas propane barbecue. So what I want to make sure is that I've got propane, because once again, you're not going to be able to find it once a hurricane hits or even prior to it. So I have my spare tank here, which I'll make sure is full and ready to go. And then my tank that I have on the barbecue, if it's a bit low, I'll just go ahead and just swap it out for a new one. So I go into it with having 2 full tanks. You'll use that to cook food, heat up food, sterilize your water if necessary, and so forth. So it may be that your cooktop in your house uses propane. That's great. But without air conditioning, it's better to cook outside. So you might just want to top that barbecue up. If you use charcoal, then just make sure you have a backup stash of charcoal. That won't hurt, because heated food, cooked food, is a good luxury to have when you're in the midst of trying to survive something. But yeah, make sure these guys are ready to go for you. Next up, we've got cleaning supplies. I'm going to kind of break this down into 3 separate categories. Personal hygiene, just general housekeeping, and then home repair if your house actually gets flooded. So you definitely want to have shampoos, hand soap, wash, body wash, etc., just for keeping yourself clean. Second would be to make sure that you have soap for washing your clothes, towels, wiping things down, etc. Probably not going to be running your washing machine, so stick away from powdered cleansers, dishwasher, that kind of stuff. Stick with liquids. That way you can still bucket wash as needed. And then third, you want definitely a lot of stuff like bleach. Very important, especially remember that you're going to lose probably your air conditioning, so that means you're going to be susceptible to humidity, which means mold and rust and that part of it. So bleach is very effective at eliminating mold. But then on top of that, if your house becomes flooded, you're talking brackish sewer water going throughout your home, and you're going to have to treat that, otherwise it'll become a moldy mess. You remember, Home Depot is probably going to be closed, the grocery store is probably be closed, so you can't just like, oh, I'm going to head out to the store with the 5,000 other people that didn't plan and go and pick up some bleach and so forth. It'll either be closed or they're going to be wiped out. So you got to have enough supplies for all of those in case they happen. Very important hygiene. That'll prevent you from getting sick, and it'll make things a lot more comfortable in that survival mode. Extremely important, that livability. And making things as livable as possible is huge, both physically and mentally. So being able to kind of wash down after a hot, humid day, no air conditioning, and being clean will help you to get some sleep and kind of decompress. So extremely important. Next up, lights. All right, remember, no power, okay? So nighttime, it's pitch black. You've never seen it so black than when there's a power outage, even here in the Keys, unless it's a full moon, okay? I'm fortunate we don't have street lights around these neighborhoods anywhere here on Marathon, so it's not such a big deal, but you got to have some light sources, very important. I have 2 really good headlamps. These are search and rescue style, so very effective ones. So I've got those, and then I also have cheap ones scattered around. I also have little hand torches, and I have little electric candle ones. So just, you want them everywhere, okay? Just to have that. Lighting is very important because half of your day will be in the dark. So definitely want those. Same thing with having batteries. Batteries that will supply everything that you have, including the lights. So for me personally, I buy the Amazon 48 packs of AAAs, AA's, and then I've got some D batteries for some other stuff. But very important to have that light. Everybody at nighttime have headlamps, so extremely important to have. Next up, we've got Petrol. Okay, very important. Gas stations are shut down prior to the hurricanes coming. Everybody will be panic buying the gas, and they'll be shut down, zero gas. And depending on the damage of US 1, it'll be hard to get fuel trucks in. So one, it's very important if you have a escape plan in regards to leaving the Keys. Usually what happens is all the gas stations going up through southern Florida is basically wiped out of gas. So you need to have enough gas that'll get you to at least Central Florida, better yet up to North Florida, Georgia. And that's probably the first place where you're going to guarantee to have gas. So you want to have enough that will be able to get you out of the Keys, both before and after, in case you just can't take it anymore. The roads are open, they're letting people out, and you just can't deal with it anymore without having power, without having water, without food, you got to have enough gas to get out of here and be self-sufficient in that regards, because again, gas stations will be closed, so you got to have that much at a minimum amount of gas. Secondary for me is to have gas so I can go fishing, okay, and then third is if you have a generator to keep that powered up. But primary for most people, and something they don't remember, is that you got to have enough gas to escape. That's probably the minimum that you're going to want to have. And then also, if you're going to be driving in town because something to do, you just want to get out, you want to charge your phone, you want to run your car's air conditioning for a bit, you want to go pick up supplies, you're going to have gas for that, and you can use up that source if you don't have a backup supply. So very important, get your gas. For me personally, I have around 25 plus gallons of gas. I've got 4, I think they're 6-gallon tanks, usually used for outboards, for the smaller outboards, and then a bunch of these smaller 1 and 2 gallons that I use on my for my kayak. So prior to a hurricane, the week before, I'll go out and fill all of those. At the moment, I've got 2 of them that have my Key West kayak fishing strategic gas reserves. So I basically filled those up when they were gas was $3.39 a gallon, and I've been using those, kind of getting through this high gas prices. But I've got those resources ready in case I need them. Next up, I'd kind of categorize as convenience items. This one in particular, I went through Hurricane Irma pretty well. I planned pretty good, so I was pretty well off. I didn't make very many mistakes there. One of the few that I wish I had was this guy, a cordless battery operated fan. Hugely important. Not so much like during the day, but enabling you to get some sleep. Sleep is very difficult when you're stressed out. If you're used to going to sleep with the air conditioning keeping you cool, wrapped up in a blanket even though it's hot and humid out there, and then going out to hot and humid, it can be very difficult to get some sleep. And if you don't have sleep, that's probably the biggest way for your health to decline. So this is one of the things that I was so jealous of. One of my neighbors had was electric fan. I almost killed the guy for it, but this is one of the first things I picked up right after Irma. That part of being able to sleep is just, I can't emphasize enough how important it is. Here's a quick tip. If you're having problems because it's just hot, humid, get a All About the Bait long sleeve shirt, okay? A bucket of water, keep it next to your bed, okay? Take that shirt, just soak it in the water, wring it out so it's not dripping wet, wring it out, put it on, have your little portable fan here blowing on you, and you are chill. It will keep you cool. Then in the middle of the night, if you wake up and you're hot again because the shirt has dried out, just take it off, dip it in the water, throw it back on, get in front of that fan, and you'll be back to sleep, no problem, and you'll have no sleep issues. It is just super nice. I spent some time in a big old thick mud hut with no windows, doors. It was just horrible heat. I mean, just most miserable time of my life. And that's the only thing that helped me survive through that. It was just that towel and a bucket of water type of thing. But stuff like that, just definitely think about. Another one would be a mosquito net. I've got this traveling in South America and Africa. This I will never camp. I'll never go to remote places without this. Even the Keys I consider a remote place, and I would not come here without having the mosquito net. The reason being is that, again, I cannot sleep being buzzed by mosquitoes. I just can't. I'll stay up until I die because I just can't deal with it. Malaria a couple times, dengue a couple times, and I can't physically do it. It's probably one of my major weaknesses. But having a mosquito net is so important. I also can go out to my covered patio out there, boom, put my sleep pad out, put the mosquito net up, and I'm golden out in the breeze, and we're good there. I do also have a full camping set. Like I said, I spent a tenth of my life in a tent, so I've really got a really good camping setup. And I would have that if I traveled and left the Keys. I would probably end up car camping until it was over. So having this would be helpful. Having a tent where I could do just the inner shell where it's exposed, but just the mesh netting, and then having the top in case of rain. But just think about those things. What would help you get through? A couple of bags of candy, get you that sweet tooth. It's just mentally would be helpful. But this fan, oh, golden. I'm set. Next up, we've kind of got a non-essential piece, but it does kind of fit our little preparedness part for the hurricanes, is this. I got a inverter generator here. But first off, I want to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. Your contributions allowed me to pick this up, but they're the ones that throw the cash at me to allow me to fix, for the Key West Kayak Fishing channel, allow me to fix the things I break, the stuff that corrosion eats, the stuff I lose, or if I just want to try something new, I know I have that pool of money, I could just go out and just take care of it, not have to think about it. Then any money left over, I basically invested into the All About the Bait store. And third, to buy things like this, okay, that just kind of covers everything and just makes things a whole lot better and easier for me. So to my Patreon supporters, a huge thank you. I went through Hurricane Irma without zero problems without having a generator. Fred had brought me his over because it was down, and I fixed it for him, so I started playing with that, and that was a pretty good deal to have. And then this season I started thinking about it. I was going to go out and just find one for $100 or $200. Someone's broken down one, and then fix it up and get it running. But then Amazon Prime a couple weeks ago had this on sale for $350. They're regularly average around $500 for this style of inverter generator. So $350, it's a Westinghouse, pretty good one. So I said, oh, can't beat that. So I went ahead and picked that up. I have basically 3 core uses for it. One is for hurricane part of it. I could run my freezer, refrigerator, air conditioning on it without a problem. Both bedrooms have a small wall units. I have central air, but I have small wall units in both bedrooms. So for nighttime sleepability, I could plug this and it could run my refrigerator and the air conditioning without a problem. Helps that sleep part of it. I've got a freezer and air, cool foods and stuff, so makes things a lot more livable. As well as being able to keep my All About the Bait store running. Just this month, the power block on the back of my fuse block went up in flames, caught on fire, had turned on the air conditioning. That whole fuse block shorted out, caught on fire, so that was not good. So they came in, replaced that back block there, and then they found out that I was down for a day for that. Then they found out that there was a power variations. So they said to contact the city. So they came out, and then they found that there was a short in the positive and the neutral lines coming from the power pole to the house, which probably caused that. So I lost another day of that. So it's basically 3 days that I was without power. So having a generator made things a lot easier. Also, they're doing line hardening. They're putting the concrete power poles, replacing the wood poles. Basically what they call line hardening, so it's a little bit more sturdy for the high winds. So in this neighborhood, they had the power shut off for the morning, so it was good to have the power up there. So plus normal blackouts that we have and brownouts. So the All About the Bait store is 100% in my warehouse here, so I don't have power. I can't process orders. I can't go online. I can't do videos. But when I lose power, I can fire this up. I have everything on one circuit, so I just plug that one cord into this, and my monitors, my laptop, my hard drives, the modem, the router are all powered on that one circuit and one plug, and everything is up and running even though the house doesn't have power. So that part of it's great. But like I said, I went through a month of Hurricane Irma recovery without a generator, and I was fine. Like I said, I camp a lot, so I'm perfectly fine without the power part, so no problems there. Next up, we got the guns, because I know there's people out there, hey, you're talking survival, you gotta have the guns. Right? My deal is, okay, when you're talking about the wrath of Mother Nature, all right, if you're worried about the gun part more than Mother Nature's wrath, you got some issues there. You better kind of click off the TV and the YouTube and kind of start really thinking things through on what your priorities should be. Mother Nature is rough, okay? Especially when it's a little different when you're talking about the Keys specifically. The people that stay for a hurricane down here tend to have gone through quite a few of them, and it's not such a big deal. They know what to expect. They have their stuff planned out because they've been through them. They know what works, what doesn't work, and they're not going to freak out about it. They just know what they got to do, and they're going to do it. And that's that. So you're not going to have that panic versus the major population centers of South Florida, Miami, or what happened in New Orleans. If something kind of wipes out the infrastructure of these major population centers, yeah, you probably want to be able to barricade yourself and kind of protect yourself from anything weird stuff going on. But a lot of that means just keep that outside, and you stay inside until things get under control. But down in the Keys, it's really chill. Down in Key West, the bars really never closed 24/7. The Bourbon Street gay bars were probably the linchpins of all of Key West in regards to being the meeting point. They stayed open. You get a drink anytime you want down there. They're giving out free food. All the other restaurants that were closed up, they were sending them food over so they could prepare it, and they were just giving it out. The emergency services that were coming down knew that was kind of a meeting point, and then they were dropping stuff off for them to give away. So it's just a really just community type of deal that people will help each other, so it doesn't really get into that effect. Law enforcement was very strong. They were pretty much straightforward, just say, hey, okay, this is different times, okay? You break the law before it was one thing, you break the law now, we're gonna have a whole new set of rules that we're gonna go by in regards to enforcing stuff. So don't do that civil disobedience, don't do that looting stuff, don't even think about it, okay? Because we have no tolerance for that stuff. And that was a big push there. But all the emergency services, fire, emergency rescue, those guys were still here. They made it up front and clear that, hey, okay, this thing's coming, we're leaving, and you're on your own. If you stay, you're on your own. Sorry, okay? But reality-wise, there was still a pretty significant amount of law enforcement and emergency services still around because they have to stay to be here. They just weren't, if you're going to say, oh, my generator stopped working, can you send someone over to help me out? Or my cat's lost, can you help me find it? That kind of stuff, no, but they were patrolling everywhere. And then the other part of it, a lot of people don't understand, is that the Keys, or specifically the lower Keys, is basically a military zone. You have Key West has all the branches available to it there. The northern to the northwest tip is all military. And then you have the Naval Air Force Base, that's all of Boca Chica basically. Okay, and it was concerning in the beginning because they always say, oh, before even the civilians were like, people were just like, oh, should we go? Should we stay? What's going on? What's going on? The military side was all non-essential people, get out. Right? So they're like, hey, the military left. We're like, what the heck's going on? But realistically, what it is that all the non-essentials, their families, dependents, they were told to leave. And then it was basically the military guys with the guns stayed. And they basically protected the stuff. And then, I mean, secured the bases and making sure nothing can go wrong in regards to just security for the bases, but then also for national security. And like I said, I think it was 2 days or 3 days that we had an aircraft carrier right outside the reef, and then some other military ships out there, and they were flying in on the helicopters, and so it's not like civil unrest is going to happen down here because of that. So a little bit of a different thing to think about. I'd say spend less time worrying about the guns and stuff if you're putting that much effort into it. Make sure that you have your battery powered fan, and you've got water supplies and some candy for after the eating tuna for 12 days in a row and that kind of stuff, and you'll be fine. But yeah, that's kind of that. Alright, so that is kind of my Hurricane Preparedness 101. This is the stuff that I've been working on the last couple of months, getting ready for the May through November time frame. So if you live in the Keys, South Florida, anywhere along the Gulf Coast, all the way up to Texas, along the northern East Coast there, definitely should be thinking about it, at least having the back of your mind of what you're going to do. I would definitely kind of break it down to, are you staying or are you leaving? Okay, right at that pre-hurricane preparedness. For me, I don't do Fantasy Fest. I don't really do lobster mini season. I've done Hurricane Irma, so I've been there, done that. So am I going to stay? Am I going to leave? I don't know. I could do either one without a problem. If you want to experience and know you're going to experience it, then that back half of it, you definitely want to get yourself prepared for it. It's very, very important. Your life depends on it. If you're going to bail out, not so crazy, but definitely want to have things in place. If you're just going to jump on a plane, got that credit card, you got money, and you're just going to go to your second home up in Maine or Colorado or Alaska or whatever, okay, it's not such a big deal. Go a month, don't even be here during hurricane season. All right, that's easy enough. If you're driving out of here, just have all those stuff. So the hurricane stuff is going to be threats, constant threats, okay? And those threats aren't actually serious until probably 48 hours before they're going to hit. Otherwise, it's just constant, just everybody panicking for the week before it. So you just basically need to have kind of things organized, so at that last minute you may decide and want to leave, have everything that you need, especially the gas part of it. But then again, if you're going to stay, you really need to think through of all that preparations of not having power, not having water, not having medical care, not having any support, no communication for X amount of time, depending on where you're at and depending on how bad it is. Okay, so just some stuff to think about. Everybody's different. Everybody can do what they want, but that's kind of what I have. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you next video. Bye.